You'd be surprised what can happen if you ask for more budget when you know you'll probably come up short on any given project. That's just one of the things I'm going to be talking about in this week's lighting breakdown. Now, when MLSC approached me with this project, I was given a concept, a location, and I was told that it'd be probably a pretty tight budget because this would only live as an in-game content piece, meaning it would be shown up in the jumbo screen and not much further than that. The Leafs host next-gen games where they try to get more kids out to games through local charities and private ticket donations. The Toronto Maple Leafs partnered with Tim Hortons to create a special Timbit, or donut holes as my American friends call them, for the next-gen game, and this was the product we were featuring in the video. The concept of the shoot was Carlton the Bear, the Leafs mascot, sneaking into Tim Hortons' kitchen to bake up a batch of those sweet, delicious, limited edition Timbits. And after a couple of pre-production meetings, I knew that our time in Tim Hortons' head office was super limited, with only 4 hours to set up, shoot, and tear down, and I wouldn't get a chance to go for a location scout. So keeping the lighting setup as simple as possible was going to be crucial to getting this done. But here's the thing, I also knew that to pull off this shoot in the time that we had, I'd need a second set of hands to stay within Tim Hortons' limited availability, and that's where client relationships are just so important. I've built up a lot of trust with many of the producers I work with, and so when I'm asking for an increase in budget for any specific project, I give them a breakdown of the reasons why and how it's going to benefit the project, and most times they just give me a thumbs up and they're like, hey, no problem. Now, in this specific case, I was asking for the budget to hire a camera assistant. I gotta pause the video right there and say that Brandon was way more than a camera assistant. That was a slip up on my part. He basically co-DP'd this project with me. He brought out his Nisi lenses, and he's an insanely talented cinematographer. He was just asked to speak on a panel last night because of all the work that he's been doing. So I wanted to just put that out there. So go check out his Instagram. I'm gonna leave a link down here or up here somewhere. Brandon, thank you so much for the help. We'd be able to save invaluable time with someone else who knows my equipment and can build and shape the light while I framed the shot. If I had to do this on my own, I'd be adjusting the light, running the camera, checking frame, exposure, etc., and having to run back to the light one final time to make those adjustments. There was no way I'd get all of the shot list done in 4 hours had I done this on my own. Listen, I get it. Asking for more money is always awkward, but I find that if I address any budgetary concerns in the pre-production phase of any project and can give informed answers as to why you might need more budget, you'll only build more trust with your client. The worst thing they can say is, sorry, we don't really have any more wiggle room here, and in that case, you'll just have to work with your client and manage their expectations. But this is a lighting breakdown video, so let's get into that. When it came to the lighting package for this piece, I knew it would have to be small. One extra set of hands isn't really that much more, so I brought my Aperture 600D 60X and two MT Pros for a couple of shots where I'd need some practicals in frame. Okay, so we've got our first shot, which is Carlton, his mixing bowl. He's getting ready to add all of his ingredients in. And as I said before, we're just augmenting the lights that already exist within our scene, which are overhead kitchen lights. They're nothing special, they don't look great, they add weird shadows. The benefit being that with a mascot, you're not gonna get those crazy raccoon eye shadows or anything like that. We're just trying to bring up levels a little bit more. So all we did was threw a 600D full blast up into the ceiling and then stopped down the camera just a little bit so that Carlton's not completely overexposed since he's pretty well all white. So that you can just see right here, and it's just basically just a wash of light that's coming up over top of him right there. So Pretty simple first shot. Only other thing that we added in this one was the 60X, cranked all the way down to 2700 Kelvin is where I think the warmest you can go is. And that's just raking over just kind of this area right here where some of that kitchen equipment is. Just create some color separation and maybe make you think that there's an oven on just off frame, because you're gonna be baking Timbits and donuts. It's Tim Hortons. And it's just adding, again, just a tiny bit of a wash of light on that left side of his face. So it's not quite as stark and barren in that industrial kitchen. And that's our first shot. And just from another angle, so you can see it from a top-down type setup, I've got the Sidus Link app open here, and you can see the shape of the kitchen and kind of what we were working with. So Carlton just standing right behind the table there, and you've got that 60X that's, again, just raking across those back cabinets and some of that kitchen equipment. And then our 600D is just shining that kind of 6000 Kelvin wash of light just up into the ceiling, and that made for our first shot of the day. Okay, in this next shot, we've got Carlton. He's hanging out, waiting for his Timbits to bake, and when there's not an opportunity to add more lighting to create depth in the shot, the next thing you have to do is just pick a frame that's gonna give you that depth, and also a focal length that's gonna help aid with that. So in this shot, I believe we were shooting with the Nisi 50mm Cine lens at around a T5.6, because you can see I didn't completely blow out the background. There's still some texture and context that's happening behind Carlton, so that we can see what's happening. So again, that's gonna be the T5.6 there on a 50mm lens, and then you can see actually we've got some overhead lighting as well just above, and these were the overhead bar lights that we were kind of competing with because they did create some awkward shadows. So again, that 600D, we're just blasting it up into the ceiling just to kind of overpower the weird shadows and lighting that we were going to be getting. But just by shooting and having these leading lines from the table kind of heading into Carlton here, it's just framing him in the shot a little bit more. And then you can see that, again, there's still enough context of what's happening in the background so it's not completely blown out. And you see a bit of that Tim Hortons kitchen. You know he's in a kitchen. It's always nice to know that. But then the last thing that we added to this shot were the MT Pros that you can see right back here. We did one MT Pro on the top bar and one on the bottom, and those were our practicals for the oven elements. So again, look for the simplest ways to get these shots done, especially when you're working with a small crew, and you can come up with something that looks pretty decent. I'm always looking for ways to just bump up the production quality a little bit more in these shoots where, again, with tight time constraints, budgetary constraints, there's ways that you can still just make your shoot a little more fun to watch and just to shoot as well. This one was really cool because we just loaded an A7S III with the Nisi 14mm Athena lens in the baking tray and just let Carlton load the tray in, take it back out, have a couple of reaction shots of him looking into the oven when the Timbits are baking, and that was a really fun little part of the edit as well, and one that actually received a couple of comments after the shoot as to how much the producer and editor really liked this shot, adding it into the video. So look for little things like that just to bump up the production quality when you might not have the budget or time, and then you get a cool shot like that. I liked it. Got a new shirt. It's taken me a lot longer to make this video than I thought, but by no means was that a high budget, super cinematic edit. That was just content that needed to get pushed out, and that's a lot of the work that I find myself doing and what you probably find yourself doing as well. But if you look for those shots that will frame up the subjects within your shots and just working with the small amount of lighting that you might have to make it as fun of an edit as possible, that's all that we can ask for as DPs in this small creator world that we kind of live in right now. And if you learned anything from this video, just be a part of the pre-production process so that you can flag any of those issues that you think you might come across. Not knowing what the kitchen's going to look like, maybe mentioning that you're going to need a second set of hands to even get the project looking halfway decent, so that you're not having to do everything by yourself, because you're going to have tight time constraints and you're not going to be able to get all of those shots done on your own. So look for those budgetary constraints. Look for ways that you can spice up the video in any way that you can by using MT Pros. I'm using them right in the background of my shot right now. They work great as practicals. Some of the MCs, I've got some MCs right up there as well. Those little pocket lights are great to hide within the frame, just to give little pops of light and color that might be missing otherwise in a lot of these places that you're going to find yourself in, and have fun with it. But until next time, we'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe. Let me know what type of situations you find yourself in frequently where it might not be perfect, but you make it work anyway. We'll see you next time.